Hello and welcome to today's edition of the Azure Global Bootcamp. And on my session, I'll be talking about IoT and beer. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, good whatever, wherever you find yourself. If you're joining us, welcome to this year's Global Azure Bootcamp. I am Samuel Adrani. I will be talking and streaming about IoT in this session. Um, we are, I think, just some few minutes in. Uh, welcome, Daniel Gorman Hammond, Amponsa Ransford. Welcome to you and all the others. If you're on the if you're on the stream, just say hi to me, and I'll give you a shout out. Whilst we wait for others to join, let's give them maybe another minute. Whilst we do that, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, and then, any questions you have preceding this session, I'll try to answer it. I'll try as much as possible to make the session very interesting and give you some kind of a practical use case of how IoT can be applied in our everyday lives. So let me know what you think during, the session. I'll be sure to try to answer them. If there's anything afterwards, you can reach me here. As you can see, my Twitter handle is Adrani on Twitter. You can hit me. And the Power BI guy, hi, welcome. Thanks for joining. Thank you for joining. Hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, evening. Yep. We're just giving folks like another another minutes to join, and then we can have some fun. Whilst that's happening, feel free to, if you feel like you want to, just put a little, shout out there, introducing yourself. Yeah, we can do that. I'll be, interested to know a little about you, wherever you're coming from, what your expectations are for this session, and hopefully we can be good friends at the end of it all. But hey, thanks again for making time with me. And forgive me if I'm looking this week, because this is where my stream control is a 1 month stream for this year's virtual event. I don't have any moderators, so I'm having to look at this and do that. So forgive me if it looks like I'm looking out, but then it's all for the interest of the show and also for the interest of this year's Global Azure Bootcamp. So I think we need to get into it. So to do that, let's get right into it. Yes, I'm having a great afternoon making muffins as I watch you. Yep, I'm doing awesome, Power BI guy. I'm doing great, great. Thanks for dropping by. Hopefully, at the end of today's session, you might figure out how to add some IoT to your muffins creation. You'll be amazed, interesting things you can do with IoT and everyday stuff that we have. All right, so let's get into it. So I will be talking about IoT and beer. If you haven't heard about this before, it's no news. I like to do a lot of IoT stuff and like to mix and mash them so that you can actually incorporate IoT into a lot of the things you're doing. So, well, let's get right into it. So, IoT and beer, well, obviously it's a never-ending story, and I'll tell you why it's a never-ending story. So, a little about myself. I am Samuel Adrani. I'm a Microsoft MVP, a Microsoft MCT. I'm also an Oracle certified professional. I'm a senior software engineer at Mecoma. I'm a community lead. I stream 3 times in a week. I stream Tuesdays on IoT, on Fridays on general, demystifying of general technologies. But for the past season, we're focusing on a lot of the Azure technologies or Microsoft technologies. And then on Sundays, I do the Power series where I bring Power Platform geeks, MVPs, community leads, and all that who are well versed in the Power Platform. And then we have a conversation and they show us some tips and tricks, demos, and then we have a good conversation. I have a bi weekly podcast, Control Escape, that is also something to promote technology across the globe. If this sounds like something that is interesting for you, you can check out stuff from my social media handles. It's S Adrani across all my handles, easy to find, easy to navigate. And make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel where you're watching this live, because there are lots and lots of awesome content I produce in the week. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and look at today's agenda. So for today, we'll be talking about what IoT is, and then we would, take a look at a little history about IoT. And then I'll take you down, some applications of IoT, the IoT infrastructure in terms of network and in terms of data communication. And then I will give you a quick overview of the Power Automate platform. And then the beer story will come in and we'll jump right into our beer scenario and hands-on demo. So if you're ready to do this, buckle up, let's enjoy the ride. And don't forget that anytime during this session, if you have any questions, drop it in the chat. I'll try to answer them as we move on. All right. So let's start off all by answering the question, what IoT is. So this is a very basic definition I coined up. So IoT for me is the internet connected object. It's a network of internet connected objects. All right. I say objects and not things because pretty much anything, can be connected nowadays to IoT. So it's a network of these objects that are able to connect, collect, exchange, and act on data, mostly without human intervention. Now, and I'm saying without human intervention because with the improvements happening in AI and other stuff, we are getting to the point where it's capable IoT devices or objects are capable of managing the data they actually collect and exchange. And also you can get insights and act upon those insights. So anything within this category is how I define IoT to be. Where does IoT fall in the industry 4.0 revolution we find ourselves? On any device, pretty much anybody now can use IoT. Pretty much it can be found anywhere. Businesses can leverage IoT. You'll be amazed the places or businesses that can use IoT. Sometimes, people find it difficult to understand that IoT is applicable in different scenarios. You'd be amazed, and that's why today's topic, I'm trying to merge IoT with something that a lot of us do. I mean, I drink beer. How would you think that drinking beer has anything to do with IoT? Today, I would explain that. It runs on most of the common networks or popular networks we use, and then also with IoT, you can have information accessible to you almost 24/7 or anytime. With this said, let's just go back in time in history just a little bit and talk about one of the histories of IoT. All right, just how it started. So, if you think that IoT actually started, how do we call it, started today, you are absolutely wrong. Now IoT has been with us for a long time. As early as as late as in the 1980s, IoT was there. All right, so what you're seeing on your screen now would I would term it to be the first IoT device or IoT setup that ever existed, which was a Coca-Cola vending machine. Yes, Coca-Cola vending machine. And ironically, we're talking about beer today. Well, yeah, this vending machine actually was in a Carnegie University, and it was the first internet connected appliance. All right, internet connected appliance that was able to report inventory, and it would tell them whether the newly cooked they added was cold or not. I mean, you might think that, well, yeah, hot or cold, does it? What difference does it make? It made a lot of difference. All right, now, so to think that in the 1980s this was there, fast forward to today, and we're still talking about IoT, tells you that it's not new. The only new thing that's happening is that the sensors have gotten smaller and cheaper. Platforms and technologies and tools and network infrastructure has gotten more accessible and more user friendly. The entry level has really been dropped. You don't need to be a hardcore programmer or rocket scientist or IoT developer or anything crazy to build basic IoT setups. All right. You're going to find a lot of ready to use things on the market, from smart buttons to all smart lights, bulbs, and all that you can easily put together and create some IoT setup. And that is the focus of today's session that I want to share with you. So once the history is out of the way, let's look at some quick projections for IoT. So first of all, if you want to know, IoT devices are projected to grow from 7 billion as of 2018 to 22 billion by the year 2025. All right, yes, the number is increasing. Now, Ghana predicts that as of last year, we would have had about 26 times more connected things than people, and which is true. So, like today, you have connected microwaves, connected ovens, connected lights, connected watches, and different kinds of things. So this is actually growing exponentially. Now, McKinsey reports that globally, every second we are adding a little about 127 devices of connected items onto the internet. So it only tells you that this is just going to grow. It's going to grow, it's going to scale, it's going to grow. And then you would find yourself in a position where you need to, either want to join that IoT ecosystem. Pretty much, you're going to be surrounded by a lot of IoT devices. So it's a good time for you to start looking into it. And the final piece is that as of this year, it's been predicted that the IoT market projection is at $520 billion. Yes, $520 billion. That's a huge market segment to get into. So let's take a look at some applications of IoT. So think of different scenarios where you can apply IoT, all right, from consumer and other places. Let's start from consumer. So in the consumer space, you can leverage IoT to do things like connected vehicles, where you have, I think I have something I'll share with you. Yeah, so you can actually put some devices in your vehicle to track, to know the sensors, how they're faring, and schedule servicing when. So that's another use case of it. You can have home automation. You have smart bulbs, smart thermostats. What you have are smart systems, and so on and so forth in the homes. You can also talk about wearable. We can talk about the wearable technologies, smart watches, smart heartbeat monitors, even smart jackets that's able to adjust a heating element in it based on the outside temperature. These are, very common. Another use case for consumer applications of IoT would be what we call the elderly care. And with elderly care, sometimes you have smart devices monitoring stuff around them. Even now, there's that we have medicine dispensing IoT applications at home to make sure that your elderly, are taking their medications on time and so on. Then we can move into the commercial space of things. So under commercial, we can talk about medical healthcare. So we call it IoT of medical things. We can talk about transportation. We can talk about vehicle to everything communication. We can talk about smart buildings and building management. So that will be in the areas of commercial. Then we can move into the areas of industrial applications of IoT. So for manufacturing, assembly lines, for agriculture, that will be classified as applications of IoT in the industry. And then we can also talk about applications of IoT in terms of infrastructure. So here, think about it as energy management, metropolitan scale development, environmental monitoring, security control. All these things can be put under the infrastructure bit of IoT. Now, in terms of that infrastructure use case, IoT is actually powered by two things: your network and then the way you communicate or send data across. All right, these are ways to communicate or access to it. So let's take a look at some of these network in terms of connectivity, network and connectivity when it comes to IoT. All right, so let's look at that. First, we can talk about Bluetooth. Now, everybody knows what Bluetooth is. Bluetooth allows you to kind of like provide a it's a commonest of it. So either Bluetooth or Bluetooth low energy. Common, your phones, a lot of devices can use Bluetooth in terms of communication. Then we can also talk about light fidelity. Most people haven't heard about this, but this is more like a wireless communication technology like Wi-Fi, but using visible light communication for increasing of bandwidth. This is another area. Then we can talk about NFCs, all right, which is communication that uses kind of like electronic devices almost within like 4 centimeter ranges. Now, all these networking and connectivity service or protocols have their own, kind of like use cases, where to use them and where not to use them. We can also talk about RFID. We can talk about LoRa, low powered wide area network. I just posted some things on my social media feed because I got some LoRa kits I'll be using to do some IoT stuff. Maybe I can share that but then maybe in subsequent. If you subscribe to my channel, you can see me use those. Then we can talk about power line communication, where you're communicating using your existing power lines. We have Wi-Fi, what we mostly know. We have Ethernet. We can talk about Zigbee, Z-Wave, and then cellular from 3G all the way to 5G. All these networking and connectivity protocols enable and enhance the IoT infrastructure and allows us to build it. Now, aside the networking and communication infrastructure side of things, there is also the messaging or data protocols. How do these devices transmit data? Making use with protocols like the message queuing telemetry transport, and then message queuing telemetry transport for sensor networks, constrained application protocol, a simple text oriented messaging protocol, the extensible messaging and process protocol. So all these are protocols, WebSockets, AMQP, DDS that allow us to enable our devices to communicate from one side, to another. And I'm sure that these things are common. I mean, even if you are not used to any of this, you might probably have heard about MQTT, WebSocket, HTTP, REST. These are very common protocols that enable IoT devices to communicate. Now, let's take a quick talk to Power Automate. And you might ask, why am I talking about Power Automate when I'm talking about IoT and BA? What has Power Automate got to do with IoT and BA? Well, it has a lot to do with it in the background. You see, in bridging your physical world, which is the IoT, to the digital world, all right, you will need some form of binders or services that work in the background. And part of these binders, either you're using, the Azure IoT or the Azure array of IoT solutions. In our situation, we're going to leverage on the low code, no code approach, which means I'm trying to democratize IoT to make it very low entry barrier. So you don't need to know how to program. You basically just need some, ready-made shelf sensors and then, a low code and platform where you can drag and drop to build, your solution. And that is why I am introducing Power Automate. Now, Power Automate allows you to streamline what we call your repetitive task or paperless processes so you can focus attention on what's needed most. So let's give you an example. Every day, you have to send an email and maybe report the daily temperature, just hypothetically. All right. This probably takes you, let's say, 30 minutes to do. Now, this is something you can automate, and that's going to take 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, maximum probably a minute or 5 minutes. That spares you 25 minutes. All right, that is the power of Power Automate. And the best of it all, it's a visual canvas that allows you to do drag and drop to produce or to provide some of these automations or business workflow behind the scenes. So why would I use Power Automate? First of all, it enables me to boost my productivity. Like I mentioned, if I can spend 1 minute or 5 minutes to do something that took 25 or 30 minutes, I have a lot of time to do other things. All right. Secondly, it allows you to quickly and securely do this. Now, whether it is a task in the cloud or task on your local machine or a legacy system, it allows you to do this quickly and more securely without you having to know how to program. And I'll show you that in a couple of minutes. I don't need to be a programming expert or guru, all right, to create these business workflows because this is handled by me by Power Automate. The third reason why I would, all right, go with Power Automate is that it puts intelligent workflows to work. The good thing is that anything you're using on the Microsoft ecosystem now has some AI in the background. So I get to leverage the power of the Microsoft AI ecosystem in my workflows, all right, for free without having to be a data scientist and AI specialist, all bundled for free. And with this, that is the more reason why I'm introducing this. Like I mentioned, it's a very quick system. This UI you're seeing is how you create your business workflows. Drag and drop a bunch of, things, select items from drop downs, type a few things, and that's it. You have a business workflow working. And like I mentioned, if it's not something in the cloud, and it's probably you go to work every day in the morning, you open an application on your desktop, you have to enter some value in it, it returns some data, you need to copy that data and send it to an email. Guess what? We have something called the Robotic Process Automation or RPA, which is part of the Power Automate platform that allows you to do that as well. You can capture these processes, all right, put it into a flow, and you're done. Still saves you time securely, and you can scale out. Now, with all this said, there's something I want to introduce you to, the bedrock of Power Automate. It's connectors. If you've done any programming in the past, connectors are kind of like SDKs or APIs that allow you to extend your application. An example would be if you're building an application and you want that application to send what we call text messages. All right. To do this, you would first of all extend your application by connecting, let's say, a Twilio API or SDK and building it. Same principle with connectors. Connectors allow you to be under the hood, connect to external services to extend your business flow. So, for instance, if let's say you're working in a digital marketing outfit, and what you do is that you need to send out setting messages, motivational messages, or business encouraging messages every morning. Instead of typing and doing that, you can connect the Twitter connector you're seeing to a simple flow, and then put it on a schedule so that every morning on your schedule, this message will go out. Every morning on your schedule, this message will go out. So, with that said, I want to give you a little projections on people or companies that have used Power Automate and what they are saving and what they are enjoying. So let's do that. Now, Forrester has put out these numbers. So companies that have used Power Automate to drive their business transformation have benefited from some of these things. One, 199% in what? Return on investment over a 3-year period, right? They have also saved worker time that can be equated to $1.41 million, all right, of worker time that has been saved. And then over the period, they have reduced their error rate by 27.4%. So these are just little numbers to throw in there to let you kind of like appreciate how Power Automate drives these things. So to get started with Power Automate, quite simple. If you go to flow.microsoft.com, it takes you to that page. You sign in, and then you can start from it. They have starter templates that allow you to create workflows based on all these things. If you don't like the template, hey, you can create your own, and that's what we are going to do. So I know you're like, Sam, it's been 26 minutes into the session. You've been blabbing, talking, making all sorts of crazy things. Dude, where is the beer? Where is the IoT? Relax. We're getting to that. So before you understand this whole concept, let me give you a little story about how the whole thing started. So I like to enjoy my beer a lot. And from time to time, if I'm, working, I want to distress, maybe Friday, I'm just coding, I need something to, quench my thirst, I take a bottle of beer. Now, it so happens that there was one time I went into the fridge to look for beer and there was no beer. And I was like, wait a minute, what happened? Did I just finish 12 packs of beer or 24 packs of beer? When? How? What? I was like, oh, and it was late and I just couldn't, I wasn't in the mood to get down, to drive, to go find beer. So I was like, how could I solve this problem? Think about it. You're an IoT, you love IoT, you have all these sensors lying around. How can you solve the problem? So it occurred to me, wait a minute, I can combine my flick button with the beer in the fridge, with my Power Platform, and my SharePoint list in the cloud. So, in putting all of this together, we came up with this. So, this is the scenario. Anytime I take a beer, I press my flick button. And when I do that, it goes into the cloud, updates my SharePoint list, and then I use Power Automate to begin some processes to check, do I have enough beer? Yes. If I have enough beer, no problem. And the cycle continues. So anytime I pick a beer, I press this button, which is attached to my fridge. Now, when it gets to the point where my flow says, dude, you have only 1 or 2 beer left, you need to reorder or restock. Now, what I end up doing is I do what we call an approval process. An approval process is basically simple. You send a request to someone to approve the purchase of any product. So take out beer for one moment. Take beer out for one moment. Assuming that we can actually replace the beer with items in a supermarket or item in a grocery store. So people come, they buy, you check them out, beep, beep, you're doing that. Imagine that instead of clicking the button, you're using the scanner to beep, check the person out. And as you're checking the person out, the number of that item in your stock count decreases. And when it gets to your restocking level, let's say a purchase order is sent to your suppliers and all that, automatically, that is the scenario that you can liken to my beer situation. So if my wife is in a good mood, Yay, she approves, me buying more beer. And when that happens, I use the Twilio connector right here. All right. I use the Twilio connector right here to send me a message whether it was approved or not. And depending on how it's approved, that's how I look like. So with this scenario, let me quickly talk about the flick button. So um, for a moment, I'm just going to bring this a bit closer so you can better appreciate this. So this is how the flick button looks like. You can see that in the picture, but I can give you a look here. These buttons, I like them so much because they have three states. They have the click, the double click, and then the long click state. Now, it allows you to do a lot of things. They started with a variant like this, the green button, but then the white ones are the modern ones. Now, it's a very simple button to use. So if you look at this, I have like a beer stick stuck on this one, and this is what is on the fridge, this is what I use. So I'm going to take you through the demo now, enough of the talking, and then we're going to see how to set this up. All right. So to do this, let's go ahead and then bring this here. So we're going to jump into the demo. And like I mentioned, I'm going to end this slide, but feel free to put in your questions if you have any as we move on. So let's get rid of this. And I'm going to share with you. Let's bring this here. I'm going to share with you my phone. All right, so let's bring this down here, as you can see, and let's give you this full screen. All right, so what you're seeing here, this is actually my phone live right now, right? You're seeing my phone live here. And I'm going to open up the flick button. So this is the companion app that comes with a flick button. All right, and what it does is I can go here and you can see I have beer, hue demo, and some other buttons listed here. So it has three states. If you click on it, you can see click, double click, and hold. Now I can create any interactions with it without having to do any coding. So for instance, uh, if I wanted to do something when I hold it or long press the button, I'll just click here and take a look at the options I have here. A, a chunk of them, from connected light to smart homes to media if you want to play, time management, a whole lot of this. And if you feel that this is not even enough for you and you want to do your custom thing, you can go to advanced. And then in advanced, you can do things like call Alexa, change the configuration, dead man's grip, flick control. You can even call a Microsoft Flow. You can use if this then that, or you can do an internet request. In our situation, we are using an internet request. And what does that mean? I'm only saying that anytime I press or long press this button, I want it to send a request out into the internet. And this request is what my Power Automate flow would receive and start the processing. So with this understood, let's go ahead and let me bring you to our how do you call it? Let me take you to the SharePoint list, okay, that I am using. So let's do this. Let me just go ahead here and prep this. So this is our SharePoint list, all right, and this is where I am storing the count of my beer. So let's do this. I'm going, for the sake of this demo, I'm going to change it to 5. So that tells me that now I have 5 beers left in the fridge. All right. Just stay with me on this. Stay with me on this right now. So this tells me I have 5 beers in the fridge. I think we should scooch this a bit here so that we can bring our phone also to this side so we can see everything that's happening. All right, cool. So which means that now if I pick my flick button, okay, or anytime I drink my beer, all right, I pick the beer, I press it, all right. Now something happens, all right. Let's go ahead, and as you can see, I'm just making sure that we're running the app. Now, do you realize that it's changed? Do you realize that now the count has changed from 5 to 4? All right. So another day, I pick a beer, I press the button right here, and then let's give it some time. We will see that our page will refresh, and then the count will reduce to like 3. As you can see, you see that. So now something has happened in the background. Now this is what has happened. Because my restock count is 3, it is going to trigger the flow that checks to make sure whether I have reached my restock count. If I reach my restock count, it's going to trigger a flow to start the process. Hey, wifey, I think we're running out of beer. We need to buy one. But how do I get it? 2 ways. I either get it from an email or an approval flow, which is in Microsoft Teams. And I'm just using Teams and email as an example. It could have been a text message. It could be something else. So let's go to Teams and see how this actually came in. All right. So let's do this. Press this, and I'm going to bring here Teams to show you how. Um, yep. So here we go. And as you can see, there is a request. So this is how it comes. In terms of Teams, it comes this way. Beer restocking request. Beer restock request says that we have 2 beers left. We need to restock. All right. So here it can be approved or rejected. For the sake of the demo for the first time, we would approve it and see what happens. Now, after this restock has been approved, check what happens here. Keep your eye here. 2 things are going to happen. First of all, do you see it? I have 12 more beers added to my beer in the fridge. And at the same time, if you look here, I get a text message, hooray, more beer on the way. All right. Very simple. You're like, whoa, how did that happen? Well, I didn't have to program this in any complex language. It was just Power Automate connectors, Twilio connectors, and stuff like that. Now, let me take you back to the scenario where it is rejected. So for the sake of that, I'm going to change our beer count again to, let's say, let's do 3. All right. Or let's just do 3. So now our beer count is back to 3. So let's say I went to the fridge and I picked the beer. So press the button. Now this is going to trigger another request. All right, as you can see, the request just came in. So we go here, there's a request here. And then this time around, I have been a bad man. My wife says, no, you're not going to get beer. So she's like, no, I'm rejecting this approval. You will not get beer. Let's stay healthy. Now, now with that said, let's see what happens. Now, check this out. I don't get any beer, but if you look here, sorry, request to restock rejected. Drink some juice instead. This is a very simple workflow. So you're now thinking, how did he just combine beer, IoT, and the digital world? Well, you just saw it. By the use of just this button, some Power Automate, we have a working demo. So this could be applied to anything. It could be grocery list. It could be, and that's what I'm saying, that consider this not beer. It could be in a retail shop. It could be in a warehouse. This integration can happen. So Power BI guy, I hope that you can probably use it to check when your muffins are ready or stuff like that. But hold on, just stick with me for a sec. Stick with me for a sec here. Now, I'm saying that right now we're using, flick buttons. Now, you could use things like this. Like here, this is actually an IoT powered smart badge that you can issue your workers. It actually has a button here, a panic button here. So it's the same thing. If I put this ID here, smart ID, if I put it together with this beacon, right? If I put these 2 together, I can actually interact. I can let this ID card interact with this. And in the same way, I can build, flows with it. The similar concept with this ID card. This ID card is also a smart one, but also has 2 buttons where I can determine what happens if this button is pressed or this one is pressed. Now, you can also use this lanyard, all right, which is a smart lanyard. You can use it with a beacon to determine where this lanyard is in, whichever premise or whatever you're doing. So this is just a simple example of beacons, but as I've shown you, you can integrate it with different things. All right. Now, let me show you. Let me take you to the code so you can actually appreciate this. So right here, this is the flow, right? Very simple. So remember we mentioned that if within the app, if an HTTP request is received, this is the HTTP request. So anytime you press the button, the request comes here. Now, when the request comes here, what do I do? All I'm doing is initializing a variable that has my number, and this is it. I am connected to SharePoint. I'm looking at the SharePoint list that has my beer, looking at it, and then this is it. I'm doing a condition. Is the count less than or equal to the stock restock level? If it's less than, it means that we need to restock. So we send the SMS using Twilio. But if it is not, all we are doing here is reduce the beer count, reduce the number of beers we have, and pretty much that is it. Look at this. All this was done graphically using Power Automate. All right. And if I even want to be, you know, if I want to be more aggressive or do something even interesting, I could go ahead and say anytime I restock, I can tweet to the world, I just restocked my beer. So the possibilities of using this is very, very endless. Today it's beer, tomorrow you can add it to anything, you can scale it up and do anything interesting. I think I have given you enough, to ponder on how to use IoT, connect it with anything, and make some, build some processes. Now, at this point, that's the end of my demo, my very short session that gives you insight into this. If you have any questions, let's take some questions from folks if you have it. Else, we can call this stream ended, and then you can actually join me on any of my social media feeds, especially Twitter, and make sure you subscribe, and we can have some fun. So, guys, if you have any questions, this is the time. Feel free to hit me with the questions. I'll spare some 5 minutes so we can answer some questions and have some more clarity. I hope this session was useful. I hope it was interesting enough and giving you a lot of ideas to work with. If it has, please don't forget to subscribe. Like I mentioned, I have a lot of goodies on the channel, from IoT to technology to power platform. A lot to learn, a lot to learn. Oh yes, thank you, thank you for making it. I hope you got some ideas on things to build. If you have any questions pertaining how to go about it, please feel free. We can share that so that people can learn, can build and move. Because trust me, IoT is part of the next revolution. It's everywhere we go. Right now, you go to some hotels and you actually use your phone to enter the hotel. The room is actually kind of like customized to you. You can talk to the room and stuff like that. All these things happening in the future. Yes, I know there are also concerns from security perspective of IoT to privacy perspective of IoT. Yes, those are also things we would address. Yeah, once they are working on network, you still need to make sure you are taking the necessary steps to protect your network of things. Now, it's a two-way street. You are using providers that are also making sure they are secured, and also you are building them using secured practices. So it's kind of like a shared responsibility. Yeah. So if you have any questions, yeah, keep them coming, keep them coming, keep them coming. We have like some 3 minutes or so to take questions before we end this live stream. But like I said, if the live stream ends, that's not the end of it. Subscribe to my channel, go check it out. There are lots of content on IoT, on power, and on technology there. I do a lot of great stuff. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope this was inspiring. If you have any questions, yeah, let me know. Let me know, man. And I'm always here to try to answer and make it easy for you people to to join. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you're thinking of entering into the IoT space, all right, I shared something not too long ago. I think I should try to share that again. Let me bring this here. Let me bring back our screen so that I can share it. For my friends, if you're around the world and you want to buy a lot of IoT stuff, you can get stuff from Seed Studio, which is like the global place for buying a lot of IoT stuff. I get a lot of my stuff from Seed Studio. Um, if you are within, for those joining from Nigeria specifically, there is the Geek Store from my friend. So if you go to geekstore.com.ng, they also stock a lot of IoT sensors and boards and stuff like that that you can make use of. So between Sit Studio and Geekstore, yeah, you can get some of these things from. Yeah, and then my friends in Ghana as well. If you're in Ghana and you're interested in getting any of these devices, hey, hit me up and I can make that happen. Yeah. So it says that I am progressing Okay, okay, but okay, okay, okay. Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, awesome. That's good to know. That's good to know. Yeah, and if you have any question on that, I hope the links I shared was helpful. So I mean, if there's anything, just let me know. I will try to give you the best of my experience and knowledge, and we can even collaborate on some of these things. Yeah. So my good people, like I mentioned, don't forget it doesn't end here. If you have any project ideas, suggestions, and stuff like that, hit me up. All right, send it to me on my social media handles. I would respond. I would try as much as possible to respond, and then we can have some fun. So we are right on time for today's session. Continue to enjoy the Global Azure Bootcamp. I'm sure a lot of the local communities are running their sessions. Make sure you are in any of them. Learn something new, build something new, stay safe, and let's make the world a better place. With that said, this is where I end the live stream. You can come back to this and watch it. It's on my YouTube channel. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Let's grow the channel and let's grow the content. With that, I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and stay safe.